Hey guys, hey Dirk, hey Texas, and Texas has got some French flies tonight, and I'm guessing they speak French too, right, Texas? So anyway, my hair's like freaking messed up as usual, but check out this. I just got this today. Me and Steve had to go over to Kohl's today, and they had some T-shirts on sale, and I had to have this one because it's like from one of my favorite non-horror movies, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So I got this one, and he got why he got a Ford shirt other than the fact that he works for Ford, I don't know. You would hope so. Oh, and also check out what I found in our cabinet. I'm assuming this Steve picked this up somewhere because it says every day is Halloween trick or treat, but evidently it's from www.dickwarlock.com, and it actually has not the actual signature of Dick Warlock, but a facsimile signature of Dick Warlock. And I hear Sammy howling back there. Hold on just 1 second, guys. Dirk, I do too. I don't know. I can't exactly tell you why. It's just like that song is so great in that movie, and I love it when the principal gets on the school bus and the girl has the gummy bears. They've been warm because have been in her pocket all day or all afternoon or whatever. Um, Dirk, said that's killer. I met Dick Warlock last year and got his signature. Yeah, like I said, I know this wasn't mine, but I found it in the cabinet and I thought, well, it's getting the fall season and it'll be Halloween before we know it. So I'm putting my drink in that instead of my first mate. I'm going to try to get me some cool Halloween can coolers or cozies or whatever they want to call them before Halloween this time. Hey, Ryan, you say, hey, Dana, that's an awesome koozie. Dick lives in the same town that I live in. Yeah, I'm going to have to tell Steve you got a cool can cozy or whatever because everybody likes it. Robert Long, you say, I remember Say Ferris was a rock band back in the 90s. It seems like I remember something about that, Robert Long. Yeah, that's right, Dirk. He's running home, jumping trampolines, going through people's backyards and everything else. Uh, so another song that I really liked and ended up getting the vinyl was a group called the Dream Academy, I believe, and I accidentally got that vinyl twice, so I have 2 copies of that vinyl. So if somebody wants a copy of Dream Academy on vinyl, I'd be glad to send you one. Neither one's in like really excellent shape, but the record itself on both plays great. Let's see. Ryan, you said had dinner with him and his wife a few months ago. That is awesome. I wish I could say I had dinner with somebody like Dick Warlock. Let's see. Hey, TJ, you say howdy. I hate pumpkin spice. One downside of fall. I mean, do you hate like all the pumpkin spice stuff they have around this time of the year? Or do you hate the scent of pumpkin spice? Because I hate to tell you this, TJ. I wanted to try one so bad, but McDonald's has pumpkin spice lattes right now. And I thought I was getting, I actually thought I was going to get something hot because I haven't been feeling very good. And of course, my throat is bothering me now. And I thought it might make me feel better if I got something warm. And normally I get hot chocolate, but I thought, what the hey, I'm going to try a pumpkin spice latte. But they gave me a frozen pumpkin spice latte instead of a regular, but it was still pretty good. I liked it. Dirky said, I was just watching your cabin video. That's cool as hell. Well, thank you, Dirk. I appreciate that. I actually, the video was a lot better quality because I was watching it, a little bit of it. It was a lot better quality when I was up at my mom's cabin because it's up on a hill. So I guess I was able, because I was doing that completely on my cell phone signal because there's no way I could get any internet up there. So it was really decent up there. But when I came back to the house and actually went in the house, that's when the signal wasn't as good. I maybe should have tried to connect up to my mom's Wi-Fi or something, but I didn't even think about it. But all the while I was up at the cabin, I think the video was pretty good. But I'm glad everybody enjoyed that. It seems that even good old Garrett watched it because he commented on it and said that he loved it. So I was happy about that. I was happy so many people found it interesting. TJ, you said, yeah, I hate it all. LOL, I do like regular pumpkin flavored stuff. What about mellow cream pumpkins, the candy, TJ? Do you like those? I love those. I love those more than I love candy corn. And some people might think that's blasphemous, but I love those mellow cream pumpkins. I absolutely love those daggone things. And I get disappointed whenever I can't get them, or when the store's out of them, or oh shoot, I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry, guys. My temperature was up to 101 something earlier. Now it's down to 100.2, which is a little better. I took some ibuprofen because I didn't want to be feeling bad while I was doing. Oh, I was doing the stream. I'm sorry for yawning. I'm probably gonna have to get me some more caffeine here in a little bit. But as usual, I thought of something kind of at the last minute today to do a stream on because I'm freaking addicted to doing these streams. It's like a damn drug. And I just kind of live for these streams now. I don't know, that might sound a little weird and stuff, but I get to interact with people and all of that stuff whenever I get to do these, and bless Steve's heart, he goes to bed so early that especially on Sundays I don't get to interact with him much, so it's good to kind of hang out with friends, and I consider all you guys friends, just to hang out and bullshit about movies. It was awesome last night. I wish we could have had more people on the stream. Unfortunately, we didn't talk about the movie much, but like I told John and Darren, who were on the stream live with me, I told them it was just fun as hell. We had several different conversations going on about different things. We did talk about the movie a little bit, but I usually, and I think Dead Pit does this too, because the last commentary I did with them for Child's Play 2, we totally at one point got off the subject of Child's Play 2 and just started talking about anything and everything. So, I'm really flexible like that. I'm not going to slap somebody's hand and say, no, you only can talk about the movie that we're doing the watch along for. Now, that may irritate some people because I noticed the longer we went on, even when the movie was still on, some people left. But, I know Dirk had something that he was doing last night. So I get that. But other people, I don't know. And this is not to say anything about John or Darren. They were very entertaining and informative and all of that stuff. Yes, Blair, this is live. I am live and in person. Um, but I mean, I guess some people might not like that. And I may notice the people dropping out more than like say like Dead Pit because they've been playing the game a lot longer and so they have a lot more people in their streams. So if a few people drop out here and there, they're not even gonna notice. But generally when I have a round number of about 10 people usually per stream, when half my people drop out, I do notice. But again, that was definitely not due to anybody that I've ever had on the stream, and it certainly wasn't due to John and Darren. It's I'm guessing either some people dropped out because they didn't like it because we weren't talking about the movie. But see, I encourage it to be more flexible because even though we're doing a watch along, I mean, I just don't think it's very good to restrict people and say that they only can talk about the movie because hardly anybody that does watch alongs do. I notice that they stay 100% on the movie. So I don't know. People might have gotten tired. They may have had other stuff to do. They may have had to take phone calls. I don't know. And some people, I've noticed there are some people that don't even watch the movie. They just want to be in there and just want to listen, see what's going on, and that is cool too. Let's see. Let's see. Dirk, said we did our stream last night. Went on for 5.5 hours. Was you wiped out, Dirk? TJ said, love the mallows. I like the other mixes too with the bat shapes and the like. I don't, in my neck of the woods, I don't see those as often. But they are cool, yeah. Dirk, said, yeah, I stayed as long as I could. I had to prepare for our top 5 last night. Otherwise, I would have joined. Oh, and Dirk, I totally get that. You got to go do your own thing sometimes. And you guys are, I've said this before, I'll say it again. You guys really mesh well together. And you're very entertaining and very informative and all of that. I just, I always wish we could have, 6 or more people in there every time, but I know that that's not going to happen all the time. And there are some people that don't feel comfortable even audio only on camera or live, and I totally get that. Maybe perhaps when I've been doing this a little bit longer and people get used to me doing watch alongs and stuff like that, because generally I do a watch along every Saturday. And then the first Sunday of every month, of course, we have one. So, 1 week you'll get a couple of them, which that'll be coming up because we'll be having the Maximum Overdrive watch along at Old Curly Jaw's request. So I'm hoping Old Curly Jaws will be live on the stream with me for that one and anybody else that wants to join. And then that Sunday, we will be doing one for Don't Go in the House, which is Texas's pick. So Texas might want to be, he might want to be on the stream live with me for that one. Hey, Brandon, you say when it comes to fall horror, Night of the Demons from the 80s and Halloween 78. Now, I'm glad you brought that up, Brandon, because I'm starting a series now called Fall Frights that will probably run up until Halloween. and I'll see however many movies I can cover. I'm going to cover 10 tonight, or attempt to cover 10 tonight. Um, and those are really, really good picks. But what I'm going to try to do is not cover like the Halloweens and, Night of the Demons and the obvious ones that either have Halloween in the title or take place on Halloween or anything like that. What I am going to try to focus on is movies that you might not even, some of them you probably will because they kind of have fall like themes, but some of them will not. But they are ones that I don't know, they just feel like fall to me. And I invariably end up watching them around the time, September, October, when, we're getting ready for Halloween. And the reason why I'm doing this, other than to talk about movies that I like and enjoy, I don't know if y'all can hear me good. I'll move my microphone over. I forgot to do that earlier, and then I realized, oh, it's way over here. But another reason why I'm doing this is maybe to introduce people to movies, maybe that they never watched, or maybe it's been a while since they watched them and don't even think about watching them during the fall time. So, and it gives me another excuse to do, a stream. So I don't, this may generally be on Sundays, or like this next Sunday when we're going to be doing a watch along, I may push it to Mondays. Hell, I might do another one of these fall frights and do another 10 movies tomorrow night. So you guys might get a double dose of it. But so it's going to run on up until, heck, it'll probably run on up till the possibly the weekend following Halloween. And that way that'll give me a chance to like go through a lot of my movies and pull out different ones. And again, hopefully it'll, help somebody out if they're just sitting around thinking, well, I watch Halloween, I watch Night of the Demons, and all of that. But I'm really looking for something different this time. And not that you're not going to watch the Halloweens and Night of the Demons and stuff like that, but perhaps you can mix it up a little bit. Because I know there used to be a standard set of movies that I would watch every time at Halloween time. And then that kind of got to be old hat. And like I said, I still watch the Halloweens. I still watch Night of the Demons. But I like to mix in some of these other movies that I'm going to be talking about here tonight and on subsequent nights. And Larry said, do you have a favorite moment from a convention? Mm, you know, I if I say this is probably not going to be what people expect, because usually people expect you to talk about the big people that you've met, the giants in the industry, so to speak. And I had good interactions with those people. I'm not going to say that I didn't, but some of the most memorable things for me, I've said this before, but Blair, you might not have been in here whenever I talked about it. But people like Felissa Rose, who she's more well known now, but she's not, she's not on the upper echelon or whatever you want to call it, of horror, the horror elite or whatever. She's not like your Kane Hodders and your Robert Englands, and we could go on with that stuff. But she was just so sweet and so personable and just, literally willing to talk to you for any length of time. But I've said this before, I'll say it again. I always, and I am not putting down anybody that stands up there and talks to their heroes for a long time, because I totally get that. But me personally, I try to not stay there at their table very long, even if they don't have a line. And that's just me, because I'm always thinking, well, they maybe need to take a break. They may need to run to the bathroom. It may be being close to lunchtime. I know I felt so bad. I waited in line to meet Angus Scrim, and I'm thankful every day that I got to meet that man before he passed away, because he's always been one of my favorites. And it was a great pleasure meeting him. But I waited in line. I had a ticket to, get his autograph and everything. But right when I got up there, somebody brought him his lunch. And I remember I said, "Oh, they brought you your lunch." I was like, "I can wait." And he's like, "No, no, no." He said, here's an obviously older man. He was a lot older when I met him, and a lot more feeble than when a lot of other people met him. And I really thought he should stop and eat. I did. But he just set it aside, and he was like, "Oh, no, no, sit down here." And, he wanted to talk with me. He thought it was cool that Don Coscarelli had already signed my Phantasm Sphere and all of that. So, meeting Angus Scrim was a thrill. Meeting Dean Cameron and Gary Riley from summer school, that was a thrill. And then on the other hand, some of and I didn't have bad experiences with these people, but when I met Jamie Lee Curtis, I've talked a little bit about this before. You would probably expect me to say, "Oh, somebody like Jamie Lee Curtis." It was a thrill to meet her, but there were several events that happened when I met Jamie Lee Curtis that led that to be a little less than satisfying experience. One was, it was so daggone late when I got to meet her, and that was, not that was nobody's fault. That was just the luck of the draw. That was the number of the ticket I got. Because I I heard later that Jamie Lee Curtis started out being able to interact with each person for quite a while. But then as time moved on, I think they were pushing her to move the people along quicker. And then I don't know why, but like, we were in line at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night to meet her, and they were going to have her do a Q&A right after that. I never did understand that. So they were kind of pushing her to get people through the line. Well, this guy in front of me, bless his heart, he was a nice guy, because I think he was the guy that was trying to buy everybody drinks that was in the line. But the poor guy, bless his heart, he had up to million things to get signed, posters after poster after poster. And he got her to sign the stuff. And then he was going to pick up all his poster tubes, and he fumbled them and spilled them everywhere. So he's having to pick them up and pick them up. And so there was all that confusion, and she was kind of paying attention to him. And then I got up there to her, and I barely had time to say, "Miss Curtis, it's very nice to meet you. I like your work." She scribbled her name on it, and boom, I was through the line. But other people didn't have that experience. And it wasn't a mean, hateful experience. It was a rushed experience. Um, when I met Ted Raimi, it wasn't a rushed experience, but I think I did the wrong thing and worked up that experience all in my mind, that it was going to be this fantastic experience. And then when I finally met Ted Raimi, he was very reserved, very low key. Um, and although not disappointing, and I still, had a great time interacting with him, and he was very nice, and I got a picture with him and all that. But it was just underwhelming. It was just not what I had ultimately expected it to be. Now, people like Bruce Campbell, that was what I expected it to be. I mean, he wasn't sarcastic to me or anything like that. And then there have been other ones like Tom Savini where I was very surprised at how pleasant the interaction was, because a lot of people have gotten really pissed off at Tom Savini and said that he was kind of mean and sarcastic and all that. But I pretty much had a very pleasant experience with him. So, but that's a few stories that I can tell you. Um, Dougie said, "Well, I can join next Saturday for sure, and every other Saturday." That works for me, Dirk. I will have you on anytime. Oh, Texas, he'll be in a coma or in jail. You talking about old curly jaws? TJ, you said this was a busy week, but I would like to join in a live stream eventually. Oh yeah, heck yeah, TJ, anytime. Um, I know I am Ryan, but I'll be honest. I have an open invitation to come in there and be active. I just haven't been very active on it, unfortunately. And I think Steve has joined it. I'm pretty sure he has. Boogeyman 1980. Is that Dark as a suggestion for a watch along? Because let me get my list here. And we'll one of these days I'm gonna go sliding right into that wall over here. Because I'm not no young chick anymore. Okay. So Boogeyman. So I've got that on my list. And let's see, we did Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker. We did Savage Streets. We're getting ready to do Maximum Overdrive, and then I said after that one we would do the last slumber party, and then we gotta pick another one after that, so I know what to do for that following Saturday. Uh, Aaron, you say Kane Hodder's overrated. What are you talking about tonight, Dana? Uh, so Kane Hodder's overrated. Anyway, I'm starting a new series called Fall Frights. And this is part one of Fall Frights. And it's pretty much going to be me talking about movies I like to watch in the fall and around Halloween that really don't have anything to do with Halloween. Just kind of trying to introduce people to, for a different set of movies. Not that they can't watch the Halloweens and they can't watch the Night of the Demons, but just some of these people might not even thought about watching in the fall, or maybe didn't think about watching around Halloween. Darky say it's never the same films for me. I like to change it up. This year it's going to be older horror. So this year, Lugosi, Chaney, Price, Lee, and Orloff films, and I think that's an awesome idea. Brandy say conventions are never meet your heroes thing for me, so that's why I never went. Most of the time though, I have really good interactions with people. It's just sometimes things, I guess the stars aren't in alignment or whatever. I've never had an experience where somebody has been mean and hateful to me. Not a guest. Brandy said, "What's your favorite horror actor in a non horror role?" Mine is Robert Englund and Buster and Billy. I love that movie, but it's sadly only on VHS. Oh gosh, that's kind of hard for me. Favorite horror actor. Um, you know, Aaron's probably gonna scream because I'm bringing up Kane Hodder again, but and because I'm bringing up an Adam Green thing, but I think that Kane Hodder can be really funny when he wants to, and so when they had Kane Hodder on that Halston show, I mean that was as far from other than them making jokes about him not getting the role of Jason in Freddy versus Jason. Um, really didn't focus on the horror so much. So I guess right now I'd have to say Kane Hodder and Halston for me. I don't think I've ever seen that Buster and Billy. I should try to find that. TJ, you say Linnea, PJ Souls are super nice. I agree. You met Lynn Lowry last night at a local movie festival yesterday. She is very nice. Yes, I met Lynn Lowry back in oh let's see, was it '04? I think it was 2004. When the first convention I ever went to, I went to Cinema Wasteland. I didn't know anything about conventions. I didn't know it, the friends that I know now. So it was just like me, my brother, and my sister in law, and we just kind of hung out. And I met the Last House on the Left baddies. I met shoot. I met Lynn Lowry. I met Kyra Scon from the original Night of the Living Dead, the little girl who kills her mom with that garden trowel, and she actually signed a garden trowel with her face on it, and that unfortunately got messed up over time, which I hate. Um, gosh, I might think of some more later, but that's where I met Lynn Lowry, and she was really nice. Turkey says Savini is an awkwardly strange man. The only thing I found kind of odd, but in another way, it really wasn't odd because we're in the middle of a pandemic still. Is when I stuck out my hand to shake his hand, he wanted to do a fist bump, you know. Um, and that was the only thing I thought kind of odd. But then the more I thought about it, I thought, well, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so perhaps he didn't want to do a full on handshake. Blair said, what was your favorite horror movie they played on the USA channel? Oh, shit, Blair. I can't even remember any stuff that played on the USA channel. I wasn't big into USA Up All Night either. And I'm guessing Commander USA was on there. Was he on the USA channel, or am I just being stupid thinking because he was called Commander USA, he is on the USA channel? But see, I never watched Rhonda Shear. I never watched Gilbert Gottfried. I never did, any of that stuff. So I probably missed out a lot on horror movies that were played on USA. Oh yeah, Andrew Divoff in Toy Soldiers. He was really good in that. But that movie is an excellent movie. Doesn't that have Will Wheaton on it too? I wanted to say it did. Uh, but oh geez. Although I like the movie, that movie kind of bums me out too. Hey, old curly jaws, you say you haven't been to one in 3 years. A convention? Is that what you mean? Uh, so I don't go to nearly as many as I used to. I go to one every once in a while and stuff. Um, Guys, I am going to step away and, like, I don't want to go to sleep on you guys. I've been, like, my temps have been kind of up this afternoon, and so they've been kind of wearing me out. But you know me, I like to do these streams, so I am going to go get a refresher on my drink, and I'll be right back. Oh, let's see. Doug, you say Commander USA was on USA on Saturdays during the daytime. He showed 2 movies, and after that, Kung Fu Theater. LOL. Gotcha. Brandon, you say, I wonder if Tom Savini and Claude Barker are still buff. I remember seeing interviews with them, and like these old men are in shape. Um, Tom Savini seemed pretty buff when I met him, and that was not very long ago. But it's not like I saw him in a muscle shirt or something like that. So, you can't really tell. And I'll be honest, I don't like to sound like I'm telling tales out of school, but last few, interviews with Clive Barker, I'm not saying he didn't look buff. I'm just saying he looks sick. So I don't exactly know what's going on there. I also noticed his voice was really hoarse, like he almost couldn't talk. So again, I couldn't say for 100% sure on either one of them. Brandon, you say the last broadcast has a fall type feel to it. Oh, Curly Jaws, you say my job is closing down, but I'm getting relocated, luckily. Like, I mean, hopefully you're getting relocated in an area that's not far away from where you were, because I know that would be a pain in the ass if, you got relocated and transportation wise, you had to go a lot further. Blair, you say, I see Darth Vader when I look at that chair. Yeah, this is actually my gaming chair that I haven't had for too awfully long. Um, the only part of it I don't use is the footrest because it just does not seem very secure. And I could just see myself with my feet up in this and it just go, and crunching in on itself. But overall, I like this chair. It's pretty comfortable. There's a dang fly flying around here too. Oh, Curly Jaws, you say Tom Savini from Dusk Till Dawn was pretty hot. Okay. I forgot you worked at Kroger, old Curly Jaws. I said I went. I told myself I wasn't going to talk about my job, but I will a little bit. I don't. Did I tell everybody already what the latest news was from um, HR department about them reaching back out to my doctor because they said a couple of the ways that she answered the questions on the paperwork were contradictory and that they would be back in touch when after they got clarification from her to give me their answer. That's bunch of hooey, I think. But the only other thing I wanted to mention about my work was I don't know what in the fuck is, sorry for my language, but I literally don't know what's going on anymore because it seemed like when I first started working for this place that they were happy with my job performance and everything was cool. And now it seems like every little thing I do is not the right thing to do, unfortunately. So here's the deal, guys. I'll try to tell it, really quickly or as quickly as I can. But here's the way the help desk works at stockyards, evidently, is you get requests that come in through email, you get requests that are phone calls, but we're not required, especially when we're busy, to answer the phone all the time. That's where it kind of differs from the library. When I was working for the library in the IT department, I was pretty much first line of communication, so I needed to be on the phones. But we get, sometimes they come as Reggie from Phantasm said about the ice cream coming fast and furious. Well, sometimes our requests at stockyards come fast and furious. They come by phone, they come by email. If they can't get us by phone, they generally leave a voicemail that will show up in the help desk queue email box. Um, and sometimes when people will just make a ticket and it'll not only go to the ticket queue there in the ticketing system, but we'll also get a notification in the help desk mailbox. So you got all these requests coming in, and then we have several people on the help desk. So everybody has a color. I'm blue, like a light colored blue, and other people are different colors. Somebody's pink, somebody's yellow, somebody's green, somebody's teal, whatever. So as they come in, you take them in the order that they are received. You don't skip around in the queue and things like that. I get that. So one other thing that our supervisors kind of been on all of us about in the last few months is to make sure that even if you mark something for yourself or several somethings for yourself, to get them out of the help desk queue as quick as you can so that it won't jumble up the help desk queue and we miss requests that have not been taken care of yet. So, not very long ago, about a month or so ago, I got a personal message from my supervisor telling me to make sure that I pretty much point blank got my shit out of there. They didn't say shit, but get my stuff out of that help desk queue as quickly as I could. Well, guys, I work as quickly as I can, but sometimes I can't get them out of there that quickly. So here was my idea, that in my personal inbox at work, I would create a folder called My Tickets. And I thought, hey, nobody will see this. I can't see other people's inboxes, so I assumed they couldn't see mine. So that's where I've been putting the tickets I've been working on. I mark them for me, drag them into that box, and I work on them in the order that they have been received. Well, somebody took it upon themselves, and how the hell they knew that I had, was dragging them in there, I'll never know, guys. And I'm sure nobody will tell me. But I got a message from my supervisor again on Friday saying, someone told me, hey, Dana, someone told me that you are moving tickets that you're working on into your inbox while you're working on them. I said, not my inbox. And she said, your mailbox or some other folder in the help desk. I said, Kim, I know this isn't going to sit well, but I created a folder called My Tickets, a separate folder in my inbox. The only things I'm moving in there are things that I've marked for myself, and that I am working on them in the order in which I marked them for myself. Never heard a word back from her, but I suspect I'll probably hear more on Monday about why I shouldn't do that. So I guess my question is for you IT savvy people is, how in the hell does somebody know that I wasn't just moving those out and putting them in desktop support, which is where they ultimately end up after you've wrote up your ticket and you've resolved it or whatever. And I always move them back out of my tickets folder into desktop support when they are done. Now, a strange thing happened on Thursday. Okay, so I marked several requests for myself, put them in my tickets folder, worked on them in the order in which I received them. And here's the funny thing. One of the guys on our help desk team, his little girlfriend works for the bank as well. But here's the thing, guys. She put in a ticket or a request. It went to the help desk inbox. I saw it. She was needing her badge enrolled. So I said, okay, I'll mark that one because that was the next one. When I got to hers and called her, she said, oh, Perry's already taken care of me. And Perry is her boyfriend. So I'm like, oh, all right. But it gets even stranger than that. A little while later, another guy on the help desk, Josh, said, are you working on Kara's request? He said, because I've already taken care of it. I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? And then it's very funny that the Friday after that was when Kim started asking me all these questions. So I don't know for sure if the two are related, but I don't know what's going on. And I don't know, Steve would probably say, Dana, you're making up conspiracy theories. There ain't anything going on here. But seem to have gotten in my head that HR is trying to figure out a way to get rid of me, but they don't want to fire me because they're afraid I'll come back and sue their ass over saying they terminated me because of a disability. So they want to make my life a living hell and make me quit. That way they're rid of me, don't have to deal with any paperwork or doing anything that they don't want to do with me. But I'll be damned if I'm going to be, I'll be a thorn in their side as long as I want to be a thorn in their side. I'm not going to give up, and I'm not going to just lie down and play dead. But anyway, Ryan, you say, I don't know why, but chewing the corn gives me fall vibes. I think it's all that corn. I think there's just something about corns and cornfields and the way those kids are dressed on that. But I almost picked that one, but I didn't. Oh, Curly Jaws, are you talking about me? You could see me working at a theater? Steve would probably kill me because he'd be like, there's no way you could make enough money. Durkee say, have you seen Magdalena possessed by the devil? I've seen Steve's copy of it. I'm not a real big fan of that movie, but Steve seems to like it. I think that's the one he got from Dark Force Entertainment, and it had that special glow in the dark cover or whatever, where she's showing her boobs or whatever, but all the stuff is starting to flake off of it. Ryan, you say when it comes to work computers, they have software to basically see what you're doing and what you're searching, etc. They can access and see your computer anytime. Well, Ryan, I get that. I know that supervisors and stuff like that can, but what I'm wanting to know is how did somebody that's just a regular Joe on the help desk like me, how did they get access to that? Because to me, that's wrong. If the supervisor wants to check up on what I'm doing, or my manager wants to check up on what I'm doing, I totally get that. I would totally expect that. But that doesn't seem to be the case here. This seems like one of the regular Joes was able to see it. Now, can anybody explain to me how that happens? That shouldn't be legal. Yeah, we had stuff like that. When I was in IT with the library, we knew exactly what the other employees were doing at all times. I mean, we could double check. We could see if they were surfing the internet. But here's the thing, Ron. I am in IT, and somebody's looking at my shit, and I'm not angry with you. I'm just wanting to know why anybody other than higher ups would be looking at my shit. Why are they able to look at it? I'm not able to see anybody else's, and I wouldn't even think to ask Kim or Kevin, hey, can I have access to so and so's inbox? Well, how weird is that? So I get what you're talking about. That kind of stuff does definitely go on. But number one, I am in IT myself. So why is another person in IT with me? Why are they looking at my shit? Okay. And I understand about looking and seeing what other employees are doing. IT usually sets that shit up, but I'm in IT. It's oh, Curly Jaws, you say RKO 'em. Hey, Red. Ryan, you say, unless if the computer was left logged on and they took a peek, other than that, I don't know. Well, see, that's the thing, Ryan. I've been working from home, and, I'm glad you brought that up because that's an interesting thing. And I'm just wondering if when I'm remotely doing stuff, if somebody went. That's an interesting thing, Ryan. You put a bug in my ear about that. Um, that could be a possibility, but what the hell is somebody doing in my cubicle at work long enough to watch and see me remotely drag something in there? I want to know how that's legal too. Because again, she didn't say she did it, that she noticed. She did not say my manager noticed. She said someone told her, which leads me to believe that it could be possible, based on what you said, that if I am remoted into my PC and they can see me doing stuff remotely, you're That even makes me even angry because that means they had to stand there and watch. So why are they doing that? That's what I want to know. Very interesting. I hadn't even thought of that, but when you said that, that made me think of that. Oh, Curly Judges, I hate people that don't come confront you like grow a set. Well, yeah, I think that's a pussy thing to do. I'm sorry to say it that way, but yeah. I don't like this stuff about so and so told me to blah 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 blah. It's like I don't give a shit. You come up with a reason on your own why I can't do something. Don't be listening to somebody belly aching over here. I got to thinking too that maybe they were mad because I'm taking more requests now. Big freaking deal. I'm taking more requests now. That was going to happen with or without me working from home. I mean, I was going to get more settled in, and ain't that what they want me to do? To take more requests so other people aren't burdened with all the requests. Wasn't that the whole purpose behind getting extra people on the help desk? But yeah, I don't like that bit. I don't like that stab people in the back mentality. And I thought I was way past that. I thought that these people were more adult than that, but obviously they're not. They're just as big of babies as a lot of other people I've worked with. And believe me, when I'm going to be nice about it to my supervisor because I don't really want to get in deep doo doo with her. But I am going to say that I don't appreciate people going behind my back and trying to find me doing something that's not exactly right and then running to Kim and telling her. If they got something to say, I need them to say it to me and not go to the supervisor. If they've got a problem with me, they need to talk to me and not do any of this. And if they really cared about, getting somebody in trouble, which obviously they don't, they would have said, "Hey, Dana, by the way, it's not, I noticed you were doing this." And I might still get mad that they were, uh, kind of being nosy and stuff. But I would have liked it better if they had just come to me directly and said, before Kim sees this or before Kim notices this, you might not want to do that because of XYZ, but no, they didn't do that. They got pissy over something and they went behind my back and told her. Oh, Curly Georgie said, "Dana, do I got to power bomb somebody through 13 tables, 12 ladders, 17 steel chairs, and a thumbtack?" You do that for me, oh Curly Joss, man. Now that's a friend there. That's a friend that would do that. Uh, no, I don't really want to do that to anybody or have it done to anybody. I just like old Curly Joss said, they need to grow a pair and be an adult. That's not being an adult. That is middle school stuff of, seeing somebody, I didn't even know I was doing anything wrong. I didn't even know I was doing anything that was hurting anything. And I explained to Kim and told her the reason why I was doing it was to try to keep the help desk inbox clear. Ryan, you say, "Nah," at old Curly, just stink on them like new jack off a scaffold. Scaffold. Oh, man. Oh, Curly Georgie saying the words of Cactus Jack, bang, bang. But anyway, guys, y'all feel free to keep talking about whatever you want to. But it is now after 9 o'clock, and I spent so much time talking about that bullshit with work. I want to get to some movies here. So I believe I've got 10 movies here. And again, I am going to try my best to go through all of them before I pass out on you guys. Hopefully, I won't really pass out. And again, this is going to be part of my new series called Fall Frights that probably will run just a little past Halloween, where I cover 10 movies at a time. And you guys might get a special bonus one tomorrow as long as I feel up to it and I'm not, after dealing with whatever bullshit they got to throw at me at work. I'm not too pissed off. I will be glad to do another one tomorrow night. Yes, Dirk. Wait a minute. We're talking movies? LOL. Yeah, sorry, Dirk. I got off on the work thing. But that kind of stuff, it's just like, it just keeps building and building and building until it's become this biggest pile of bullshit I've ever seen. Oh, Curly Jaws, you say, I'm going to be doing videos in my new little hut. Awesome. I look forward to that. Oh, Curly Jaws, did you see the video, by the way, that I did from my mom's cabin when I went to visit her and my dad this past weekend? It's on YouTube if you didn't get to see it live. So, the first movie in my stack, and these are pretty much in alphabetical order, I just pulled them off my shelf back behind me, is the Amityville Horror. This movie, even though it obviously doesn't take place in only that season, this is always has felt like a fall movie to me. The Amityville Horror. And this is the original. You see James Brolin, Margot Kidder, Rod Steiger, and that amazingly creepy tagline, in my opinion, for God's sake, get out. Oh, Curly Jaws, you say need to check it out. Oh, yeah. A lot of people actually enjoyed that. Remake, though. Well, the remake I'm not going to talk about. I don't like the remake. Um, uh, the 4K of this, Ryan. Uh, yeah, if it's coming out, I guarantee y'all get it. I mean, I don't think Steve will. Um, but I have always loved the Amityville Horror. I heard that Margot Kidder pretty much called this a piece of shit. And, she almost seemed like she was ashamed that she was in it. Um, and, there's been all that stuff about um, the DeFeo family, the Lutzes, uh, were the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren, were they invited to Amityville? Were they not invited to Amityville? And there's so much so-called scandal attached to this story that I think people kind of they lose track of the original story, which is actually really good and really creepy. And that is the story of a haunted house, essentially, or a house possessed by a demon and or demons. Um, and whether you believe all the stories that the Lutzes told, whether you believe Ronnie DeFeo or not about, something in that house told him to kill his entire family, whether you believe any of that at all, um, the story is still compelling. The story is still scary. That core story, even without the Hollywood hoop flaw, it's still a very scary, in my opinion, and very well told story. Okay, it works, and that's all. In my opinion, as film watchers and film goers, that's all we need to know, guys. Does it get to point A to point B to point C? Does it move along at a pretty good pace? Does it have scares in it? If we're talking about a horror movie. And essentially, does it work on screen? I think it does all of those things. Yes, there are extra Hollywood things added to that. And most moviegoers know that going in, that it's, even if it says based on a true story, we know that as moviegoers, or we should know, that once Hollywood gets their hooks in something like this, they're invariably going to change things and sensationalize things. Okay. So unless you're getting the stuff from the horse's mouth, unless you wanted to go talk to Ronnie DeFeo and ask him why he killed his whole entire family, unless you wanted to talk to George and Kathleen Lutz when they were still living, none of us are going to know the real story. Um, so in answer to that, Ryan, then definitely I will be getting it. Now, Steve, he doesn't care too much for the Amityville Horror, so I don't see him getting it, but I will. Did he really, Blair? You say Tom Savini shook my hand with his foot once. Dirk, you say, I'm trying to pick my 5 favorite movies from 91 to 95, all genres. It's like having to pick your 5 favorite kids if you had 30. Yeah, sometimes it gets kind of hard. Ryan, you say Vinegar Syndrome releases it. Cool. Oh, Curly Jaws. We're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one because you say she is right. It is a piece of shit, lol. I agree with you, Dirk. You say Amityville Horror is great. You getting the Vinegar Syndrome 4K. I will. I will definitely get it, Dirk. Um, I like part 2 a lot too, Brandon. Um, and I might want to talk about part 2 at some point, and I think I have in the past, but it wouldn't hurt to revisit it. And I hear the thumping louder than life is still going on here in Louisville, guys. If I was to be quiet and quit blabbing, you guys could probably hear the thumping, but I hear it really bad back here. Okay. TJ, you say, I heard an interview where Kidder said she enjoyed being in Amityville to some extent. Guess she changed her mind back and forth. Well, she might have enjoyed being in Amityville. I mean, are you talking about being in Amityville or in the movie? Um, she might, Margot Kidder, bless her heart, she went through a tough time there for a while with some of her mental health issues and stuff. And, I guess there could have been drinking and drugs involved. There probably was at some points. And so, I can give a little with that because when somebody's that messed up, they're going to have inconsistencies in everything they say. So yeah, I get that. Derek, you say part 2 is great. I think part 2, although trying to kind of sort of talk about the DeFeos without saying it's the DeFeos, but we all know that it's, kind of loosely based on the DeFeos. Then they added that extra stuff about, the boy actually changing into a demon and, some of those extra Hollywood type things added. Oh, Carla Joe, you said, need to tell you about Amityville in space. Oh, boy. I should just do one on these Amityville films sometime. Derek, you said part 1 and 2 are the only ones that exist to me. Well, I like the evil escapes or whatever about the lamp, but it's just so It's so cheesy though. But anyway, back to the Amityville Horror. They don't make any bones about this. This is supposed to be, albeit loosely, based on what George and Kathy Lutz went through in that house in Amityville. And I don't know how many of you had seen like later interviews with George Lutz, where I watched this one where he actually broke down crying on camera, and it seemed to be sincere, and I really felt bad for the man because, and the the kids were not his natural kids. I think he pretty much adopted them, but those were Kathy's kids from a previous marriage. And I know that the rumors went around. Um, Even one of the boys uh, did, I don't know if you'd call it an expose or what, but he did his own thing called My Amityville Horror. And he talked like George was a complete shit, that he abused them, not sexually, but, beat on them and stuff like that. And I don't know. I don't know how to take what the grown boy said at this point. He's a grown man. I don't know, because I'm sorry those flies keep flying around here and driving me nuts. But it seems that the other kids, I haven't heard them say a word about it. And then the one boy all of a sudden wants to let out all this stuff about how George was a shit, how he beat on them, how he did this and that and the other, that he wasn't good to their mother. But how come the other kids aren't talking about this stuff? Why is it only him? And when I was watching him, I'm not saying he's a drug addict or an alcoholic or anything like that. I don't even know the guy. So, but he just acted like he wasn't all together and things were a little inconsistent with what he was saying. One thing I can say about George Lutz, every interview I saw with that man, he seemed to be pretty consistent with the information he was telling. His stepson, on the other hand, after growing up, he seemed to be very inconsistent in what he was saying. But we're really not talking about that. We're talking about the movie itself. So James Brolin plays George, and Margot Kidder plays Kathy. And they move into this Long Island colonial house in Amityville. And it seems like the ideal house. And they have these short conversations while looking at the house, about what a good deal they're getting on the house. But then Kathy brings up the fact that all those people died in the house, um, like a year before they move in. And George kind of shrugs it off at that point. And so they end up moving into the house. But then the longer they are there, weird things start to happen. It really starts to affect George in a lot of ways. He's always cold all the time. He's always chopping damn wood. I don't know how many scenes of him chopping wood there are in this movie. Um, and The little girl is talking to Jody, who turns out to be a pig or something. I don't know. Um, but there are several very creepy scenes in this. In my opinion, you see the rocking chair rocking by itself. When the priest comes over to bless the house, and he goes into the house by himself, but it turns out he's not by himself. He sees the family out running by the river and all that stuff, and they're playing with their dog Harry and all that. And he wants to go call to them, but he can't open the window. And so as he starts blessing the house, he becomes ill, flies converge on the room he's in. They get all over his face and his head and all that. And then when he can't thinks he can't take it anymore, the door to the room opens a little bit and you hear a voice say, "Get out." And he's bam, he's gone. I saw Eddie Murphy when he did Delirious, where he talks about that. He talks about black people would already be gone if that happened, but white people want to stay and stay and stay in a house, and then finally they leave. But um, let's see. I'm trying to keep up with the chat too, guys, as we talk about these movies. Oh, Curly Jaws, you say I'm going to make my own Amityville movie. Now that would be interesting. I would watch that, old Curly Jaws. The old curly heart teacher. He said yes. Brandon, you said part 2 gave me nightmares. I saw possessed Ronnie on my ceiling, and he was saying he wanted my soul or he was going to get me. I was a kid when I saw part 2. Ooh wee, man, Brandon, that did. There were some parts that kind of stuck with me with that movie. Um, but I've had other movies do that as well, where there were certain scenes that kind of, stuck with me long after the movie was over. And I could definitely see that one doing it. I'm kind of glad I wasn't real young when I saw that movie just because of some of the subject matter in it. But so, the walls end up dripping blood and things like that. Now, that was one of the things that George Lutz said obviously was a Hollywood addition because he said stuff did ooze from the walls, but it wasn't like on the movie and it was not blood. It was more like a slime, like, slime or something. But it's like I said, that's what happens. We know that's what happens when Hollywood gets their hooks and a bestseller. And this was based on a best-selling book by Jay Anson. Um, and it was only after this movie had been out for a while and Jay Anson's book had been out for a while that some people got a bee in their bonnet about it and started trying to say that George and Kathy made all this stuff up because they needed money. Now, I'm not going to say whether they need money or didn't need money or whatever, but number one, why would, maybe to make it look more realistic, but why would people stay in a house for 28 days and then all of a sudden just leave in the middle of the night? The movie made it look like a rainstorm. I'm not sure for sure if it was raining the night that they left or the morning they left or whatever. And leave and not take any nothing, but the clothes on their back and their dog, the kids, and George and Kathy. I mean, that's basically what they took. They didn't take anything else. And again, I can hear you guys. Well, they wanted to make it look more realistic because how would it have looked if they packed up all their shit and had that with them, almost like they had it ready to go. Um, the other thing is when the DeFeo family was living there and Ronald DeFeo shot his whole family execution style, or the majority of them, all except his sister, I think. Oh God, 69mega.com. Yeah. Okay. So, oops. I think I accidentally blocked you, Matt. Sorry about that, dude. I was trying to block 69mega.com. Sorry about that. You'll get to come back in 5 minutes. I really did not do that on purpose. But I do say hi to you, and you will get to come back in 5 minutes. Shoot. Oh, stupid 69mega.com. But whatever. Um, but anyway, like I was saying, when Ronnie DeFeo shot his whole family, he was using a high-powered shotgun, I believe. Anybody that's used guns or been around guns knows those suckers are loud. How the hell do you use that multiple times on multiple members of your family? This was a large family. And go methodically from room to room, shooting them execution style with a high-powered shotgun, and nobody, I mean, nobody in this neighborhood heard anything. Is that possible? I don't think it's possible. But I had heard that when there are some kind of supernatural, paranormal, demonic entities, any of that stuff going on, that people will not hear things. So to me, there's got to be something going on there. If it's not paranormal or demonic, what is it that enabled somebody to methodically go from bedroom to bedroom to bedroom, killing all the members of their family? And here's another thing. Why didn't the other members of the family wake up when they heard other family members being shot? And the way I remember, reading about this stuff and seeing interviews and stuff like that, it wasn't like he was having to chase them or that they were going somewhere and hiding. They were asleep in their bed and he just, bam, shot them in the back of the head and then went on to the next one. And so I think Dawn, his sister, was the only one that may have woke up during the entire thing, and that was because she was thirsty or had to go to the bathroom or something. It was not because she heard gunshots. And Ronnie or Ronald got her when she was on her way back to her room. So, like I say, I don't pretend to know everything about paranormal or demonic entities, and I don't really know that I want to know about all that stuff and how it's explained and all of that. And also, the big person that said that all this was a money-making scheme, guess who that person was? That was Ronnie DeFeo's freaking lawyer. And he tried for years to get Ronnie DeFeo off on a technicality for killing his whole family. So he's going to say whatever he can to get his client off. So, I mean, why would the Lutzes get together with Ronald DeFeo's attorney and say, ooh, let's cook up this big story about, other than the fact that he wants to get Ronald DeFeo off on a technicality. But I just couldn't see the Lutzes getting together with Ronald DeFeo's attorney and doing that and coming up with this elaborate thing. And I don't know how would they get a pretty respectable author, because I think Jay Anson was a pretty respectable author. I hadn't really heard any bad things about them. How could they turn that guy over to the dark side and say, oh yeah, none of the stuff happened, but come on, put it in the book. People act like this was one big conspiracy between Jay Anson and the Lutzes, and Ron DeFeo's attorney, and God knows who else, you know. And then you got somebody that really doesn't have any connection with the Lutzes, with Ronald DeFeo and his family, with the attorney, with Hollywood, with anything. He's supposedly another paranormal guy. And I don't even hear him. I haven't seen interviews with him really, unless they're vintage interviews, because I think he's been dead for a lot of years. But his daughter, and I'm forgetting the guy's name. Maybe some of you guys can remind me of who this guy is. But his daughter is always going around talking about how the Lutzes are fakes. And I'm like, what is your stake in this anyway? And why did your father have a stake in it? And why on earth are you still going on about it now? I mean, George Lutz is dead. Kathy Lutz is dead. Let's see, who else is dead? Heck, that attorney might be dead now. And her dad is dead. So why are you still going on about this? How much longer is it going to go on? And then they want to talk to people who live in the Amityville house now. And I think basically the house has been moved off of the property that it was on. Here's the thing. They said it wasn't really the house that was haunted or possessed. It was the land it was on. Because evidently the land was maybe the site of an Indian burial ground, or some guy that was into demonology had built a house on that ground, and he'd been doing some kind of weird demonic mumbo jumbo, and that's what happened to the ground. So therefore, if you move the house off of the ground, that would make sense to me that there would no longer be any entities in the house. But if you were to build another house on that property, then probably the whole thing would start up again. So you've got these people living in the house after it's been moved to a different place, and they're saying, nothing ever happened in the house that we lived in, and we're tired of people trying to come around and sightsee. You know, I saw that interview, and I'm like, well, whatever. But besides all that, I think that the Amityville Horror is a great horror movie. If not anything else, it's a great horror movie. And it has some, you know, crazy, frightening moments in it. The one where the scene where the lady that's sensitive or a medium or whatever, and the voice comes through her mouth and talks about the passageway to hell. I think that is a spooky scene. The scene where the babysitter gets locked in the closet and the lights go out and you just hear that terrifying shriek and scream. Even the part where George, played by James Brolin, just screams all of a sudden and says, "I'm coming apart," and then he just kind of does like this. I mean, there are several scenes, some of them a little bit more subtle than others, but they really, you know, they really seem to resonate with me. And it doesn't matter if, you know, it's the first time I watched it or the fifth time I watched it or the 10th time I watched it. It still affected me the same way. Even the weird way the little girl acts after they've been in the house for a while. There's one scene where it's after they've gotten the poor babysitter out of the closet, and she's rubbed her knuckles raw from trying to get out of the closet. And her mother gets mad at her, and George gets mad at her, at the little girl. because they say she should open the door. And the little girl looks at her mother and she has a strange look on her face and she said, George yelled at me. And Kathy says, you should have opened the door. And then after the mother kind of walks away, she says, Jody doesn't like George. And I mean, the whole scene is just very odd and creepy. It's almost like the little girl's possessed a little bit. Let's see. Durkee said, the original fucked me up as a kid, especially back then when that based on true story stand was on it. It was the truth, laughing my ass off. Love that site. Just kidding, laughing my ass off. 12 gauge probably at least used double-aught buckshot. Brandon, you say, I had a paranormal experience. I know it's real. I used to be an atheist. Then after my experience, I believe now. You know, I think sometimes, Brandon, and I'm not saying anything bad for people being atheists. Or agnostics or whatever, you know, different people are. But I believe sometimes these paranormal things happen for a reason. And they happen to, they happen to people that aren't atheists. But I think in any case that they happen, I've had paranormal experiences too. I don't care if people laugh or what. I've told this story before. This is when I was living at home with my parents. And I was told over time, and even I heard my dad say this, that the property that my grand and papa's house was on, that my dad's parents, 2 houses burned on that property. And one was the house that my dad grew up in, pretty much. That house burned. And then they built another house, and that house was there for a long, long time, many, many years. Because I went up there on holidays and just to visit my grand and papa and stuff over time. They had a basement, so when bad storms would come, we would go to their house and get in the basement if we had to. So I was there a lot. But then my papa passed away and my gran moved. She sold the land that the house was on. And she sold the house and she moved to an apartment. Well, the people that bought the house fixed the house up. They modernized it a lot. And they had it for a few years and then it burned. So that was the second house that burned on that property. And I'd always heard in passing, even my dad say, that land there where the house was used to either be an Indian burial ground or a Civil War burial ground. And guys, we all know that's a big no-no. Everybody's seen Poltergeist, right? You don't build stuff on burial grounds. You just don't do that. That's sacrilegious to do that, So, in any event, I did talk to Patty Starr and her husband, who, anybody that knows who Patty Starr is, she's a ghost hunter in Kentucky. She's written several books, one of them being Ghost Hunting in Kentucky and Beyond. So I actually talked to her and her husband, and I was telling them about the 2 houses burning on that property and that it was supposedly either an Indian burial ground or a Civil War burial ground. And they told me that it really sounded like something was going on there. So Anyway, a few years after the house burned, I think it was a few years after the house had burned, the second house had burned, I was asleep. I was woken up out of a dead sleep by a woman calling my name, saying Dana. I woke up out of dead sleep, sat straight up in bed, and I thought it was my mom. And I said, Mom, Mom wasn't there. I went in the living room, and my mom and dad's bedroom door was shut. They were not awake. My mom has told me recently that um, she sleeps. She can't sleep with my dad in their bedroom anymore because dad like throws himself all over the bed in his sleep and stuff, and she's afraid he's going to accidentally hit her. So she sleeps in my old bedroom. She said here lately her TV has been coming on by itself. And I know you guys might want to say it's a timer, it's this, it's that. My dad tried to, logically come up with reasons why this was happening. But there's no timer on it. My mom turns it off. In an hour, it comes back on. And it's on different shows. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell. You guys either believe or you don't believe. But I imagine Brandon believes because he says he's had a paranormal experience. I even think that, and I probably really shouldn't be talking about this. I'm sitting back here in the freaking dark talking about, ghosts and devils and all that jazz. And, I'm liable to freak myself out. But, I've got a spirit box and all that stuff. And I haven't had it out in a while, but, I experienced things with the spirit box where I was able to record something or someone saying my name. Um, Clear as a bell. You know, if you guys don't believe me, I'd be glad to let you listen to it some night on one of these streams. But, there have been, and my dogs, dogs and other animals are highly sensitive to this type of thing. And I've had my dogs just stare and I don't see anything. But there have been times where I've taken pictures and seen those orbs in the pictures all surrounding my dogs. So, again, your guess is as good as mine on that. But, Curly Jolly say you wouldn't play with a Ouija board, Dana. I don't call it playing with them, but I have used a Ouija board, yes. I actually have a handmade Ouija board, but Steve won't use it with me. Like I said, I don't call it playing. To me, I know it's clearly listed as a Parker Brothers game. Parker Brothers owns the name Ouija board. Nobody else can use that. So, they have to call them, spirit boards, talking boards, something like that. They cannot use the name Ouija. I have used them, but I will never use one by myself. I know, some of that stuff may not be real, but I've seen Witchboard, and I know what happens when you start playing with them by yourself. Malfador is going to come and get your ass or possess you or something. So I don't do that. But if I have somebody else that's willing to use the board with me, I will, and I have over the years. When I was 13 years old, I got a Parker Brothers Ouija board. My parents got it for me for my birthday because that's what I wanted. Um, but Steve won't. Steve won't touch them. He says he doesn't believe in all that stuff, but he will not do the Ouija board with me at all. Uh, yes, Wes, Sunday night, Dana, the streak continues. Yes, it does. I'm going to have to get going more on these movies because we're still on Amityville Horror and it's 9:43. Oh, hey, Matt. So sorry about accidentally blocking you for a little bit. I was trying to block those stupid 69 mega whatever people. Matt, you say you had some weird experiences with paranormal stuff, and I'm still an atheist. Until I can explain what it was, I'm still a skeptic. And I get that. I totally get that. Dirk, you say, I believe there are spirits all around us, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, Dirk, you have told me some stuff, and like some of you other guys have told me some experiences you've had. And I think C gets freaked out. He just don't want to say, I full on believe stuff because he doesn't like me, using my ghost hunting stuff. He doesn't like me using my spirit box and trying to get EVPs. And he says, I don't believe, here's the way he says it, I don't believe it. I don't want you doing this stuff and getting something stirred up. It's like, if you don't believe, what do you think I'm going to get stirred up? Matt, you say, I never saw anything though. Just had a pinball machine start playing by itself. The same time, cats started hissing while we played a Ouija board in my buddy's grandparents' basement when we were young. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't say what it is. I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, and I don't pretend to be. But I will say that I think the Amityville Horror is a well-made movie. Yeah, it has those Hollywood uh, additions to it. There's no doubt about that. But Hollywood does that with everything. So I'm not going to put down the entire movie just because Hollywood decided they were going to add their little touches to it. I mean, the core story, in my opinion, is great. It is one that I definitely like to watch in the fall, just because it just seems to have that fall feel to it. So I don't think there's really any special features to speak of on this. Hopefully, when I get the 4K, maybe there will be some good special features on it. But I will definitely be getting that for sure. And I'm glad you guys brought that up. So, guys, I am going to run to the restroom really quick. And then we're going to try to go through these last 9 pretty quickly. I mean, I know when we start talking about paranormal stuff, there's going to be a lot of discussion about it. And I was fully prepared for that. But I don't want to keep, it is a Sunday night. I don't want to keep you guys on any longer than I have um, to talk about this stuff. So I'm going to try to go through the next few as brief as I can, as soon as I get back. And I got me some cheese to eat. You gotta probably think I'm just like a big rat in disguise or something because I'm always eating cheese. I can sit here and eat cheese by itself. No wedgie. Um, Brandon, you say it's a bit slow, but a good film. Amityville 5 stars, in my opinion. Well, I think it's a good film. I really do. And I've talked about it like several times, so you guys that have seen several of my streams will know that I like the film. But so the next film I want to talk about, and you guys may again think, well, what in the heck does this have to do with fall? Well, more than likely nothing. But it just feels like a fall movie to me and feels like a movie that I want to watch in the fall. And that's The Beast Within. And I know the first time, or one of the first times I talked about The Beast Within, some of you asked me, or you said something about, isn't that a werewolf film? Now, I don't consider this a werewolf film per se. I think of it as maybe an insect transformation type of film, or human transforming into an insect. A cicada or cicada specifically, or what do people call them, katydids or something? Yeah, cicadas. But I do think that I heard Joe Bob Briggs kind of refer to it like that it was similar to a werewolf film or something to the effect that mentioned werewolf. And Paul Clemens is in this movie, and I think Paul Clemens does an excellent job as 18-year-old Michael McCleary. He seems to be a very tortured young man. And we soon figure out why. Because years ago, just after his parents were married, they were actually, they had their just married thing on their car and everything. They drove to this little town and their vehicle broke down on them. And excuse me. And which we've seen enough horror movies to know that it's always a bad idea if the man goes off by himself and leaves the woman alone in the car, either by herself or with a dog, We know it never turns out good. And this is certainly the case with the Beast Within, because what happens is, I guess the woman lets the dog out to go pee or whatever, and then the dog doesn't come back, and she goes out in the woods looking for the dog. Meanwhile, her new husband is out trying to get a little help to. I think their car is in the mud. It's stuck in the mud or something. They missed their turn off and it got stuck in the mud. Um, but uh, anyway, so she goes out in the woods, which is a bad idea, we know. For those of us that have seen all these horror movies, we know it's a bad idea, but it doesn't do any good to talk to the screen, does it? And she goes out there and she's attacked, and the dog, bless its heart, gets killed. I hate that scene where you see whatever this creature is throw the dog and kill it. Um, but then then the woman is attacked by this creature and gets raped. So she ends up giving birth to a child who she just lets her husband think that the boy is his. It turns out the boy is not his. The boy is the product of the mother and whatever this creature was. We soon find out that there's some weird goings on in this town. And they end up back in the town, and Michael is very sick. And as we know, the cicadas come around every 17 years, right? So there are some changes going on with Michael that aren't normal. Okay. And near the end of the movie, I don't think I'm giving anything away, Michael literally sheds his skin, and you can guess what happens. And even before that, some people in town are getting killed in very gruesome ways. Um, and, it's no secret that it's Michael doing it. I don't think that they ever try to hide that, because he keeps escaping from the hospital and going out and showing up on the doorsteps of these people's houses. And we find out he's only killing people whose last name is Kerwin. And come to find out, the Kerwins did something to this guy named Billy. And why I never really understood, but why ask why? It's a horror film. One of the Kerwins ended up locking this guy Billy in his basement or whatever, and somehow Billy gets turned into a cicada. And it's that cicada monster that raped Michael's mother those many years ago. And so, again, don't look for logic in a horror movie, but I think this is a fun little horror movie. I think it has some great old school latex and blood special effects. You got bladders and all that stuff. So it really, really works, in my opinion. Ronnie Cox is in this from RoboCop, BB Besh from Tremors, Paul Clemens, who is in Communion, LQ Jones, The Wild Bunch, and RG Armstrong from Race with the Devil and a lot of other movies. And this is also based on a book too. And I read the book many years later, which is I think it's a decent little novel. And it's directed by Philippe Mora, but it's written, the screenplay was written by Tom Holland as well. So I honestly think this is a really well made movie. In my eyes, it fits that fall, autumn like feel. The scenes are cold and dark and bleak, and I think that really works to this movie's advantage. It really serves it well. And I'll tell you another thing. I wish we had got to see Michael looking like that, but we don't really. I think that must be like a still photo of a scene maybe that didn't get used, or it was a publicity photo, but whatever. It's pretty cool there. Um, so this is the Scream Factory Blu-ray that came out a few years back. So this has audio commentary, director Philippe Mora and actor Paul Clemens. I remember that being a pretty decent commentary. Audio commentary was writer Tom Holland, and there's a theatrical trailer. And that's Beast Within. I highly recommend this one if you've never seen it. Matt, you say, are you on keto or do you like snacking on cheese? No, I'm not really on a keto diet. I just like cheese. I'm just a big cheese person. Matt, you said Satan's Little Helper is a good fall movie. I still have yet to watch Satan's Little Helper. I need to watch that. Oh, Curly Jaws, you say Trick or Treat is definitely on my list. And Matt, you said Blair Witch 2 reminds me of fall too. Yeah. Actually, the original Blair Witch reminds me of fall. Okay. So moving right along is The Changeling. And I don't know why, but it seems like a lot of these ghost movies, paranormal movies, they just really seem to fit the bill when it comes to fall movies for me. Dirk, you say Beast Within is my shit. Mine too, Dirk. And I really like the questions on here, or the tagline, whatever you want to call it. How did you die, Joseph? Did you die in this house? Why do you remain? But I want to tell you the creepiest damn thing about this movie, and it's no coincidence that they put the damn thing on the cover of this, is that damn wheelchair. And for those of you that have seen The Changeling, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. This movie is subtle until it doesn't need to be subtle anymore. And then, bam, it just explodes. Although Steve always tells me that one of the beginning scenes, I won't go into real big detail about in case you haven't seen this movie, but an accident happens. And Steve always thinks it's stupid. I guess the setup for it is stupid and it doesn't make sense. But I tend to be a little more invested in these movies than that. And so I can look over little inconsistencies here and there. But I think with The Changeling, overall, the movie's a really great movie. It is a little longer than most at 107 minutes. Well, let me see. But yet Amityville Horror is 119 minutes, so it's almost 2 hours. So Actually, this one's rather short if you compare it to Amityville Horror, which is another haunted house film. So it is perhaps the most chilling supernatural thriller of our time. This is listed on the back of the Blu-ray. It remains a career peak for star George C. Scott, who George C. Scott is an excellent actor in his own right, but I think he is fantastic here. He has so much emotion in this, and it is required of him to have several emotional scenes. And I just feel like if they did not pick the right actor, that this movie could have fell flat on its face. But because they had the good fortune to be able to get George C. Scott, he could carry this film and he could handle those ultimate emotional scenes, several of which were scattered throughout this film. Dirk, you say arguably the best ghost horror film because of George C. Scott. I would agree with that. I definitely would, Dirk, for what I just said right before I read that. Now, this part, Dirk, I'm sorry I skipped over that. When you said where it takes place is about an hour from here. Now, are you talking about Beast Within or are you talking about Changeling? I figure you're talking about Beast Within. Because Beast Within seems like a Louisiana type of movie, and I think it even mentions that. Uh, Director Peter Medic, who did The Ruling Class and The Craze, is also attached to this. This is a film that Martin Scorsese calls one of the scariest movies ever made. And I think because, like I said, it's subtle until it doesn't need to be. And then it's in your face and it is creepy and it is terrifying and all of that stuff that we want in this type of film. Academy Award winner Scott delivers one of his greatest performances ever as a Manhattan composer consumed by grief after his wife and daughter are killed in a shocking accident. But when he moves to a secluded Victorian mansion, he will soon find himself haunted by a paranormal entity that may unleash an even more disturbing secret. Trish Vanderveer from The Hearst, two-time Oscar winner Melvin Douglas being there, and Jean Marsh from Frenzy co-star in one of the most unsettling ghost stories ever. Winner of 8 Genie Awards, including Best Foreign Actor, Best Foreign Actress, and Best Canadian Film, and based on actual events. There's that based on actual events again. Bloody Disgusting said, a great horror film, riveting and genuinely chilling. It has the power to terrify. Now, I know a lot of times I say I get tired of seeing things like Bloody Disgusting and stuff like that, but I think they're correct in this case. Newsweek said, utterly hair-raising. It contains the best seance scene in horror movie history. That seance scene is very effective, very well placed, and very effective. But again, I will say the creepiest damn thing about this movie is that wheelchair. And then even when the story starts to all come unraveled and things are just right, left, above, below, whatever, and you think you've got everything figured out, and then no, you don't. You don't even have the half of it figured out, and it just keeps getting worse. And you think it's about one thing, and then it turns into something else, and there are so many damn twists and turns in this movie, and George C. Scott is on top of it all the way across the board. He is perfect in this. Perfect. And this is a great horror movie. I don't care what anybody says. It's a great haunted house story. It's a great ghost story. Um, Very effective. I don't think there are any slow spots. I will say that I don't really, if I had to find one fault with it, I really don't like Trish Vanderveer's performance in this. There's something I don't like about it. And I see Brandon coming through there. I hope he didn't freak anybody out, kind of materializing back there. But she, by far, I think, has the weakest performance of anybody in this film. Um, and I and I'm almost confused as to why they chose her for this film. Now, some of you guys may disagree with me on that, but I find everything else in this movie to be awesome. So okay, guys, I think Brandon's wanting out, so let me step away just 1 second here, okay? Come on, Brandon. Now, Reg, you be good out there. Come on, Brandon. Sorry, guys. I'm probably going to have to get up and get them back in here in a little bit. Let's see. Darky said, I just got the Blue a few months ago, but grew up watching it, and now Severin has a 4K. Yeah, Steve asked me, Dana, are you going to get the 4K? And I said, I probably will. And you were talking about Beast Within. Okay. You say I'm going to keep my Blue of the Changeling. Yeah, you're not gonna double dip on that one. So yeah, I could go on and on about the Changeling, but I won't because I'm going to try to go through the rest of these films. And keep in mind, guys, these are only the first 10 that I picked. I'm planning on continuing this series. So let me talk a little bit about the special features on this Severin Blu-ray release. You get audio commentary with director Peter Medic and producer Joel B. Michaels, moderated by Severin Films' David Gregory. The House on Cheeseman Park, the haunting true story of the Changeling. The music of the Changeling, interview with music arranger Kenneth Wannenberg. Building the House of Horror, interview with art director Reuben Freed. The Psychotronic Tourist, the Changeling. Master of Horror, Mick Garris on the Changeling. Poster and still gallery, radio spots and TV spot, and a trailer. And that is the Changeling, guys. And if you have not seen it, I urge you, don't go out and buy it right off, you know. But if you can find it, on one of the streaming services, I was thinking it might have been on Shudder at one time. I don't know if it still is, but there's Amazon Prime, there's Tubi. They might have it on there. Tubi's got a lot of stuff on there right now. But I urge you to try to find a way to watch this. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Well, Curly Jaws might be disappointed, but most everybody else, I don't think so. The next one, you guys knew I was going to have a Fulci one in here, didn't you? That is City of the Living Dead. And I'll be honest with you, most Fulci films for me, including House by the Cemetery, which I will surely get to in one of these later streams for fall frights. But the majority of Fulci films for me seem to be fall-like films, with the exception of, oh gosh, Reg is having a fit. Hold on, guys. Sorry about this. Sorry, guys. I hope my audio was off of there. Why? Because I was cussing and things, and I don't really want people to hear me. I'm getting real perturbed. Like, I like our neighbors on this side. I don't talk to them on a regular basis like our neighbors on the other side. But there are some times when these people let their dog out, and their dog is a mean ass dog. It barks and growls at Reggie through the fence, and Reggie loses his shit when it does, and he tries to attack the fence and tear the fence apart. And I don't know if you guys have heard about kind of redirected aggression or redirected frustration with dogs. So what Reggie does is, if he can't get to that other dog, which thankfully he can, if one of our other dogs gets close to him when he's in the throes of like trying to tear the fence up, he will turn on one of the other dogs. The thing is, if Darcy, the little bitty girl, gets out there, I'm scared he's going to turn on her, because, like I said, he just loses his shit completely. And sometimes they will not get that dog in. A lot of times they will, but I didn't even hear anybody trying to get that dog of theirs in. And their dog is the one that starts it every time. It doesn't like any other dogs. I would say that. But anyway, back to the movies here. Dirk, you say I would say buy it. Really, mate? You say you can't get into Fulci movies? They put me to sleep. Well, maybe I can change your mind on that. But again, I will say most of the Fulci movies out there have that dark, cold, desolate look to them, with the exception of Zombie, which is pretty much on an island. And islands don't make me think of cooler weather or, gloominess and all of that. But City of the Living Dead, aka Gates of Hell, it definitely does give off that vibe, I think. Even the cover of this with the leaves, the way they're kind of piled up around the dead heads that are coming up out of there, um, they look like fall leaves to me, and I just feel like that it does seem desolate and kind of depressing. But the movie itself is a fun movie, but it's always one that I invariably turn to some kind of zombie type of movie around fall, Halloween, stuff like that. Um, so, like I said, most Fulci films will fit the bill for me at this time of the year. And Matt, what I would say to you about the Fulci films is maybe wait a little bit and give something like City of the Living Dead another try and see how you like it. I'm not going to say you're just automatically going to like it, and you may never like it. I'm just saying maybe give yourself some time and then put this one in, because this one is only 93 minutes. So it's not like you're going to be watching an overly long movie. And this is this is how I got my start. This was the first Fulci film I ever saw. And I think I feel like it's a good introduction to Fulci and his filming style and all of that. So, Matt, you say, I prefer Zombie 3 or Nightmare City if I'm going to watch a foreign zombie flick. And I bet I know why, because those are a little more fast paced. They're, I don't know if I want to say that they're more entertaining, but they definitely move at a faster pace. And things are happening more quickly. There's a lot less buildup than something like City of the Living Dead, even, and maybe that's what it is. But I will again say that City of the Living Dead, I feel, still a good introduction to Fulci. If you really want to get a handle on how Fulci is as a director, then I would say to start out with this one. But give yourself some time. Don't just run right out at like after my live stream or something and we'll try to watch it. Give yourself a little bit of time. Maybe watch something like Zombie 3 or Nightmare City, and then try this one again. Dirk, you say if you don't like See the Living Dead, aka Gates of Hell, we can't be friends. Um, yeah, Matt. You say Fulci movies seem dark and depressing too, so that may be why. And Fulci, even if you wait a while and you watch it again, Fulci might not be for you. So that's just a suggestion to wait a little bit and try watching this one again. If you haven't, or if you haven't watched it, give it a first time watch. But I'm not gonna say that that's gonna 100% change your mind because it may not. But there have been certain movies, certain directors that at first I didn't care for their stuff, and then I gave it another try. For instance, there was a movie that me and Dirk and Darren and Steve talked about on Eurocult recently, which was Cemetery Man. I watched that years ago and didn't much care for it. I rewatched it for the podcast. I was like, yeah, I do like this. This movie is fun. And I enjoyed the humor better this time around. So, although you won't change your mind about all movies, sometimes you do change your mind about a handful of them. You said the New York Ripper and House by the Cemetery were okay, but they aren't movies I'd want to watch again. Now, I've talked about the New York Ripper before. New York Ripper is a little more sleazy than something like House by the Cemetery, See the Living Dead. I'll say it again, say it one more time here. City of the Living Dead, I feel like is a good intro film to Fulci. So if you haven't seen that one, I would suggest maybe taking a look at that one. Dargy say, I love Fulci's zombies. There is a slow impending doom where there is no escape. Yeah. Theoretically, people should be able to escape, but they can't. So I totally get that. Maggie said, yeah, I keep wanting to like his movies because everyone praises him in the horror community, but I'm like, I don't get it. And that's okay. I've said this before, I'll say it again. When I do these streams, just because I might encourage you to go back and watch something again or watch something for the first time, even if you didn't much care for the same director's other stuff. The only reason I do that is because I know that it has happened with me like that. I didn't start out liking certain people's stuff, and then over time, I changed my mind. But I don't change my mind about everything. So I could totally see you going one way or the other with Fulci. I definitely could. So I'll give a little bit of a plot synopsis about this in case somebody hasn't seen it. And then I'll talk about the extras and then we'll move on to the next one in my list. So the seven gates of hell have been torn open, and in 3 days the dead shall rise and walk the earth. A reporter, Christopher George of Pieces, and a psychic, Catriona McCall of the Beyond, race to close the portals of the damned. They encounter a seething nightmare of unspeakable evil. The city is alive with the horrors of the living dead. Directed and co-written by the legendary Lucio Fulci, City of the Living Dead features some of the maestro's most shocking and controversial sequences of all time. Blue Underground proudly presents the definitive version of Fulci's hallucinogenic masterpiece of horror, freshly transferred in brain ripping high definition from its original uncensored negative and loaded with exclusive new extras. I was gonna ask you, Matt, if you liked Argento. You say I like Argento, but Fulci seemed like a great value, George Romero. Um, and I could definitely see that too, Matt. That a lot of people probably do think Fulci is like a low rent Romero. Um, but I think there are, personally, me personally, I think there are many, 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 many differences between George Romero's zombies and Fulci's zombies. Um, and I also think there are different levels between American made zombies and Italian zombies. It's just a different culture and all of that. And I think all of those differences feed into whether it's a George Romero film, those American values feed into it. If it's a Fulci film, all those Italian cultural aspects are going to feed into it. Um, and two, an Italian director and an American director are going to have totally different ideas, um, directing wise and atmosphere wise and all of those things. Doug, you say I try to watch everything twice. You'd be surprised on how many films you might see differently. It's a different experience second time with anything. Yeah, and you've even said that about things like Hereditary, right, Dirk? Or, people have said that about the Evil Dead remake. And, there's a ton of other films that people have said that. But anyway, that is City of the Living Dead. And moving right along, boy, I'm just discovering that I have a whole heck of a lot of haunted house movies. And this is like the third one in here. And that is The Conjuring. Here's another one that supposedly Ed and Lorraine Warren had a connection to. Okay, guys, I love this from the first moment I saw this movie. Steve and I went to the theater and saw this, and I was like, wow. Wow, just wow. And I love this cover. It's so creepy. It has the hand clapping out of the darkness there and the flame from the match there. Um so this says based on the true case files of the Warrens, and with the advent of the first Conjuring movie, I think that is when the Warrens really came to the forefront for a lot of people. I had heard about the Warrens for years, but I've always been interested in that kind of stuff. And so I heard about the Ed and Lorraine Warren a long time ago. Um, Unfortunately, I think both Ed and Lorraine Warren have since passed away now. But here's the thing, guys. I think that the Warrens were good people down deep. They were good hearted people. I think they wanted to help people. I just don't really understand why people were so hard on them. And then to top it all off, they waited until Ed had passed away, and then people started just left and right, just being so vicious about attacking him. And it's like, damn, people, the guy's dead. Why are you doing this? What purpose does it serve? And to top it off, his widow is still alive. Ed's not here to defend himself. And I mean, I know they said some of this stuff when both of them were still living. But and Hollywood was trying to make a quick buck. I know that. I realize all of those things. Um, but that does not change the fact that this is a very well made movie. I don't care about how much the Warrens were there at these people's house in real life. I don't care about any of that. The movie is what mattered to me. And I know that the Perrin family that this was based on, supposedly, and their experiences, um, I know that some of them have come out about saying something about they didn't tell the Warrens to come to their house. They didn't ask the Warrens to help them, or the Warrens weren't there as long as the movie portrayed them as being there. Um, but guys, they got to make at least a 90-minute movie, or in this case, a 112-minute movie. Perhaps they had to do a little bit of padding. I don't know. But can't anybody anymore just watch a movie for the sake of the movie? Why on earth do we always got to go digging and try to find inconsistencies? Can't we just watch a movie for what the movie adds as it as enjoyment and all that and entertainment? Um, even Steve, I got so perturbed at him because he was okay when the Conjuring came out. Then when the second Conjuring movie came out, he started hearing things about the Indian field haunting and all that stuff. And he said, the Warrens weren't even asked to come there. They just showed up and yada, yada, yada. And I said, Steve, does that really affect how well made these movies are? How, scary and entertaining these movies are? Heck no, it doesn't. So it's almost like he wanted to put down the Conjuring movies after he heard all that stuff. And I'm like, and number two, like, even Lorraine Warren can't defend herself now because they're both gone. First, Ed couldn't defend himself, then she couldn't. And probably at the time, she probably thought it was useless to even try to fight it. So she probably just went on with the rest of her life that she had left. And that was that. So, The Conjuring is supposed to be based on true events. It tells the thrilling story of ghost hunters Lorraine and Ed Warren, played at very expertly, in my opinion, by Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, who help a family terrorized by an evil spirit in their mysterious farmhouse. So, again, this is a very, in my opinion, well made haunted house movie. If you're interested in any of that, like paranormal, demonology type of stuff, if you're interested in some of the backstories on these true event type of things, maybe perhaps you never even heard of the Warrens, and this would be your introduction to the Warrens. It would be, in my opinion, I think it would be a good introduction into Ed and Lorraine Warren. I like the way they're portrayed in it. I I think the actors that they picked, Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, were great. They both seem to have the sensitivity that I feel like Ed and Lorraine Warren had. Um, and they had their own little family too. They had a little girl who they obviously seemed to care very deeply about. I'd even heard Lorraine, especially, talk about their daughter with great fondness. And they absolutely hated having to leave their daughter all the time to go to where these hauntings were to see if they could help people out. So, So May, you say I will give it another shot and see if my opinion changes. Beyond and Zombie are the worst ones to me, other than the kill scenes. Um, you say I tried to get through the Beyond like 3 times and dozed off. It's like those movies on PBS at 2 a.m. with some gore sprinkled in. You said that thing on top of the dresser looked creepy as hell in the Conjuring. Yeah, that was a scene that made me jump. I mean, literally in the theater when me and Steve went to see it, people were popping up and down their seats like I have never seen people do in a theater since I've been watching movies. It was just like popcorn, pop, 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 pop. And Steve was yelling out. I was having a good old time kind of ribbing him for going, but yeah, there were some really, frightening scenes in that. Dougie said, I love The Conjuring, especially in the theater. James Wan does it definitely in the top 5 directors today. Yeah, James Wan really knows how to make a movie like this and make it effective. So, special features on this Blu-ray, you get The Conjuring Face to Face with Terror. Relive the real-life horror as the Perrin family comes together to reflect back on the farmhouse they shared with diabolical spirits for nearly a decade. And speaking of the Perrin family, I just want to say one more thing about them. I don't know if it was one of the parents or the mother or one of the kids, because the kids are quite older now, but it was one of the women that was talking, and I was like, isn't this the same chick that kind of turned on the Warrens and said that they didn't invite them, they didn't really do much, and yada yada yada. And then she was on one of those really stupid ghost hunter shows that they have on now, the ones that I won't even watch just because they act so freaking stupid on them. They don't take anything seriously, and people just love that shit. And she was on this and was talking about everything they went through. And I wanted to say, you bitch, you went through this stuff. And no doubt it was horrifying. But when somebody came to help you, you turned on them. You kind of were biting the hand that feeds you. And then you had the nerve to go on this little 2-bit operation show that doesn't matter at all and tell your story. I mean, that is really shitty. I think so. And before they started going yada yada yada, this didn't happen, that didn't happen. Her asses, or the Perrin family's asses, are on the special features for this. Sounds like money to me, but whatever. A Life in Demonology. The real demonologist and paranormal experts from The Conjuring take you inside their life's work and into their personal occult cellar where they keep haunted and unholy relics from their many cases. And scaring the shit out of you, director James Wan welcomes you into his world and gives you an inside look at the secrets that scare the shit out of moviegoers time and time again. And that is The Conjuring, guys. Highly, highly recommend this one, especially if you've never seen it. There's that cover again. May say your dog just scared me. We was talking about that thing popping up and your dog came around the corner real fast. Yeah. And he's white, so like he just comes out of the darkness and it's a whole, we call him Michael Myers sometimes. It's kind of eerie. Darky say, have you seen Antlers, Dana? Curious about what you think. It's about the Native American mythical creature, the Wendigo. I did see a lot of that movie. Steve was watching it, and I was kind of in and out of the living room, of course, Dirk. So I can't really say that I sat down full on and watched it all the way, but I got the gist of it. And I'm not going to say that I hated it, but it just, it had some interesting moments in it, but it just didn't seem to be my cup of tea, really. Matt, you said James Wan should have remade Hocus Pocus. Now, that would have been interesting. Okay, so moving right along is one that definitely probably fits the fall type of atmosphere. And by the way, I just saw the second one of this on YouTube, and you're probably going to guess which one I'm talking about. And that is Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. And by the way, guys, you might want to stay away from Dark Knight of the Scarecrow 2 if you haven't already seen it, because it's really not that good. But this one is. It stars Charles Durning, Tanya Crow, Larry Drake, and it's written, not directed by, but written by J.D. Feigelson and directed by Frank D. Felitta. So, when young Mary Lee Phillips, played by Tanya Crow, is found viciously mauled, all hell breaks loose in her small rural town. Officious postmaster Otis P. Hazelrig, played by Charles Durning, leads a gang of bigots in pursuit of the suspect, her mentally challenged friend Bubba Ritter, played expertly by Larry Drake. Finding him hiding inside a scarecrow, they exact brutal mob justice, only to discover a tragic mistake. Now, a strange apparition stalks the land, seeking each of them out as the legend of the Scarecrow begins. A very simple storyline, not a complicated plot, but I tell you, the way this Scarecrow looks, and you can't really see the eyes most of the time, like the real eyes, you just see these eye holes. I find that really, really creepy. And the way that the revenge on the guys that did this horrible thing to Bubba, when they get their comeuppance, I mean, it's entirely justified within the movie, but some of the kills, for instance, one guy is literally smothered to death in a grain silo because the corn or whatever comes into the silo where he's trapped, and he literally drowns in it. I'm very claustrophobic, and just the thought of that just weirds me out. And Bubba Ritter is based on John Ritter's father. I think you're kidding, right, man? But even Vincent Price gave this high praise. He said, "Marvelous. I was terrified." So, a movie's got to be great when somebody the likes of Vincent Price is giving it high praise. This Blu-ray that I have is the 30th anniversary edition. I mean, this movie has great atmosphere. It's very well acted. I think all of the characters were expertly cast in this, even on down to the little girl there. And Charles Durning really does. I mean, Charles Durning is a very versatile actor, I think, as well. And he does a good job of playing this really evil man in town who's able to kind of command these underlings under him to have a lynch mob mentality. And we know that is never a good thing. Never. And we also, I did kind of got the feeling that he might be a pedophile, the way he acts to little Mary Lee. It's almost like, "I'll give you a sucker here or a candy cane, little girl. Come here." He gives off this creepy, sleazy vibe at some points in time. So everybody really works together on this film to make it a subtle. It's another one that's subtle until it doesn't need to be anymore. And when it kicks into high gear, you're like, what? This is, very sadistic, very creepy. Um, but on the other hand, on the other side of that coin, what they do to Bubba, somebody's going to have to pay for that. Because the wrongly accused in a movie has been done in many ways, in many different forms and all that. But I think this was done really, really well. And, the same way with like some of those rape revenge movies, like I Spit on Your Grave, you can feel that within the movie, the revenge is completely justified because of the horrible things these people did to the victims. And so, within the confines of the movie, we know that the revenge is completely justified. And the same thing happens with Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. Um, I figured you were joking, Matt. You say, like the old man on Family Guy. So, I haven't chased all y'all away yet. We still got 5 people in here. And like I said, I got 4 more movies to cover, so I'm going to try to go through them pretty quickly. So the special features on Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, you get a production documentary, a Q&A with Larry Drake, Tanya Crow, and J.D. Feigelson, rebroadcast promo, behind-the-scenes photo gallery, director and writer commentary, CBS Network world premiere promo, English and Spanish subtitles, which for most of us, that's not really a special feature. But anyway, that's Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. I guess I'm probably not a fan of both of those, Matt. They're decent movies, but I'm not as into them as some people are. Um, I think sometimes people treat Hocus Pocus and The Nightmare Before Christmas almost like cult films. And although I don't think they're awful films by any stretch of the imagination, I just wouldn't call myself a huge fan of them. No. Uh, so moving right along, this is another one that just seems to have a fall feel to it, a desolate feel, very dark atmosphere. And that is Don't Go in a House. This is a very, very, very dark film and dark subject matter, just dark all the way around. And I'm not meaning the transfer, I'm just meaning like the atmosphere of it. It's only 83 minutes, so it's not that long. And it's almost similar to Maniac in that Donnie Kohler, the main character, was a man that as a child he was abused, viciously and sadistically abused by his mother. But he continued to live with his mother until she dies suddenly. So not only is this like Maniac, but it's similar to the movie Deranged, which is kind of loosely based on Ed Gein. And kind of, Psycho, all of those different things that are kind of in the same vein. Hold on just a second, guys. I want to see if Reggie's ready to come in. Now, y'all be good now. Okay, guys. Um, Matt, you say, yeah, I have to watch them every year for Halloween. My kids are obsessed with them. Yeah, I think I don't know if I want to say that the grown people are obsessed with them, but those two movies have a really big fan base. And I'm not sure why. And like I said, it's not that I think that they're bad films. And I'm sure that some people wonder why there's certain films that I like, some of the other people in here like that have kind of achieved that cult like status that they probably wonder what in the hell, you know. Um, my neighbor on this side of us, the one that I talk to quite a bit, she loves Nightmare Before Christmas. She loves Jack Skellington. Anything Jack Skellington she wants. So I totally get the adults being really into it. So Matt, you say you love Deranged. Robert's Blossom, he's great in it. Oh, so this is a Severn release, and it has that wonderful tagline: "You have been warned." So Donnie Kohler is sick, very sick. He was cruelly abused as a child by his mother. He is 27 years old now and his mother is dead. Her death changes him. A long dormant psychosis is brought to life. He methodically prepares his revenge. His first victim is a beautiful young girl. He burns her alive in a metal room he has built for vengeance. He cannot stop killing. Once he's committed this first gruesome murder, he keeps the horribly charred corpses in the house with him, dressed in his mother's finest gowns. He shares his feelings and thoughts with them in a way he never could with living people. But suddenly, a form of conscience begins causing him nightmares and hallucinations. Donnie Kohler is lost in the terror of his own life, and the final revenge comes from his victims. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that first burn because that is the one that will stick with you and stick with you and stick with you because of how realistic it looks. And it was, it was achieved, not too awfully complicated, but I think they did a lot with mirrors and stuff like that. But man, I am not kidding when I say that you can almost believe that that poor woman is being burned alive in front of you. And that's really the only real burn, the actual burning that you see in the movie. The rest of the ones that you see the victims after they've already been burned, but you actually it appears that the woman is writhing and burning right in front of you during that first kill, and that it just really kicks things into high gear, and there's no turning back from that original scene. But again, this is a film that I like to watch in the fall because of the atmosphere, and it's bleak, it's desolate, I'll be honest, it's depressing. So don't watch this movie if you're already having a bad day because it's not gonna brighten your day any. Um, Durkee said, "What do you think about The Guest?" Okay, the first time I saw The Guest, I hated it. Now I guess it's just at a tolerable level. But I honestly, here's the thing, Dirk. I don't understand the popularity of this movie. I don't understand why this movie is any better than any number of other movies with similar themes of somebody pretending to be somebody they're not just to get close to people and terrorizing them. I feel like that's been done to death almost, and done better in other films. And meanwhile, you see this movie, The Guest, going for like $100 or something, or $90 or something like that. It's like, what the heck? Why this movie? I mean, what is so special about this movie that the price has skyrocketed on it. And I can't remember if that's like a Blu-ray or a 4K or what. Um, but I have watched it a second time, and I still really don't care for it. And I hate the. Usually, I don't hate the people like that in the films. I mean, I don't like them because you're not supposed to like the bad people. And Brandon just knocked over my light. I tell you what, Brandon. But this guy just really seems there's no scene in The Guest with this guy where he even tries to seem likable. He always seems like some crazy asshole all the time. Um, but I guess that's probably a little more than you wanted to know about The Guest. Dirk. Don't go in the house. Yep. May said The Guest was all right. The only newer horror movies I rewatch is American Psycho. I tend to stick with 70s to early 90s movies. Darky say, Don't Go in the House reminds me of Psycho a little. Yes, it does. Psycho and Maniac and Deranged. I mean, for me, it has a little bit of all of those things. Darky say, exactly. I don't understand about The Guest either. It has those Lifetime movie vibes. Truly don't get the hype. I think I even mentioned Lifetime to Steve, and of course, he didn't like that very well because he thinks that I overly complain about movies when I don't much care for them, and perhaps I do, but that's just part of my personality. Matt, you say, I always consider Don't Go in the House in the same category as Maniac and Nightmare. Yeah, definitely for me, Maniac, and like I said, Deranged and Psycho and stuff like that. But I think that the guy that plays Donnie Kohler, I think he does an excellent job of pulling this, and that's Dan Grimaldi, by the way. And I think Dan Grimaldi was in The Sopranos. I can't remember exactly who he played, but this also has Robert Ost, Ruth Dardick, and it's directed by Joseph Ellison. It also has some very creepy atmospheric music in it. I actually have the vinyl of Don't Go in the House, and it is just incredible. I think it was it Richard Einhorn. He did the score for it, and he does an excellent job. So I want to read the inside of like the inner cover, and I've flipped and have the other cover art here. I like this cover art. Actually, I like this cover art better than that. That just because I don't know. There's something about this that just looks a little creepier for me. So this is considered by Mondo Digital an essential slice of indie 80s American horror. This is a 2 disc collection, includes 3 remastered versions and new special features. So more than 40 years ago, it ignited a firestorm of outrage in America and DPP 39 condemnation in the UK. Now, one of the grisliest gems of the 80s can be seen uncut and fully remastered like never before. A shy incinerator worker, an unnerving performance by Dan Grimaldi of The Sopranos, scarred by memories of his mother's abuse, begins luring women to his childhood home for incendiary torment. including one of the most shocking, notorious scenes in Sleath's horror history. Director co-writer Joseph Ellison delivers an underrated classic on the same level as Maniac, now featuring a new 2K scan from the original negative, plus the alternate TV version and integral cut, combining scenes from both with 2+ hours of exclusive special features. An Eye for Film called this genuinely disturbing as a depiction of one man's downward spiral into insanity. It makes for frequently unsettling viewing, and I would agree with all of that. Matt, you say, have y'all seen The Machinist? It seems kind of influenced by Don't Go in the House. I want to say I've seen The Machinist, Matt, but I'm not 100% sure on that. You say, I've seen a comparison video and the Scorpion release looked more clear than the Severin. Well, I think I have another version of it. But I'm not sure. Yeah, I do have the Scorpion release too, and perhaps I need to go back and take a look at both of those. But I thought this looked really good, the Severin release, and in my opinion. But like I said, perhaps I need to go back and take a look at it again. It's usually hard for me to compare them side by side. Perhaps I need to find where somebody's done that so I can actually look at the transfer. Matt, you said The Machinist is that movie with Christian Bale. Christian Bale worked in that factory and lost all that weight. Okay, got you. I think I may have seen maybe a little bit of it, but not all of it. So I am going to tell you the special features on this Severin release. So you get The Burning, which was the alternate TV cut. You get audio commentary director Joe Ellison and producer Ellen Hamill. Archival commentary with the actor Dan Grimaldi. Housekeeping interviews with co-producer Matthew Mallison and co-writer Joseph R. Maysfield. We went into the house, the locations of Don't Go in the House. Playing with Fire, archival interview with actor Dan Grimaldi. Trailer gallery and image gallery. Disc 2 has the integral cut. Audio commentary with Stephen Thrower, who I believe Don't Go in the House must be Stephen Thrower's favorite movie. He's the author of Nightmare USA. Minds on Fire, video essay by the reprobate David Flint. Burn Baby Burn interview with director Joseph Ellison. Grindhouse All-Stars interviews with filmmakers Matt Clymer, Joseph Ellison, Roy Frumkes, and Jeff Lieberman. Open Matt flamethrower scene and a Don't trailer reel. Okay, so Dirk, you say, have you seen the Executioner song with Tommy Lee Jones? I have not. That is one I would like to see, though, Dirk. You say it's a great film, in my opinion, based on a true story and was written by Norman Mailer, the brother of Gary Gilmore, the guy who the film was about. Yeah, that is one, Dirk, again, that I've always wanted to watch, but just never have. But now that, just you saying that makes me want to, seek it out and watch it even more now. Okay, so guys, we're down to the final 3 for tonight. I'm going to try to go through these as quick as I can. And you knew I was going to throw the Evil Dead in here. You knew that I was going to do that, didn't you? I'm the Evil Dead chick. Of course I'm going to throw this in here. And no, guys, I'm not going to throw that remake in here. So, again, this has a very fall-like look to it. It looks cold. It looks desolate and, to be honest, sort of depressing, but it's one that I definitely always like to watch in the fall and or around Halloween time. So, in case there's somebody watching this that doesn't know about the Evil Dead, this is listed as the ultimate experience in grueling terror. So, more than 35 years ago, a low budget horror movie roared across movie screens and changed the velocity of fear forever and made a cult legend out of Bruce Campbell and his iconic role as the lethal, wisecracking Ash Williams, which he was not in this original film, by the way. Now, for the first time, you can experience the ferocious ingenuity, relentless shocks, and gore gushing havoc of the original Sam Raimi masterpiece in 4K. And I definitely did get it in 4K. And you also get the Blu-ray as well in this. So, Dirk, are you talking about the original is the best Evil Dead movie in your opinion, or that horrible remake? I hope you don't mean that horrible remake. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know what I can say about the Evil Dead that I haven't already said a million times. I mean, if you haven't seen the Evil Dead, I definitely urge each and every one of you that has never seen it, and I'm talking about this original, not talking about that remake, to go seek this one out and watch it. Please watch it. I don't think anybody will regret watching this. If you do regret it, please let me know, because I want to know what was bad about it for you. Not that I'm going to ridicule you or anything. I'm not going to do that. I just want to, if somebody does dislike it, I like to know why. Um, Darky said, I do wonder if it was inspired from the 77 Asian film House. Now, I guess that could be a possibility. I don't think I've ever heard Sam Raimi say that, but of course he's probably not going to say that, even if it was inspired by that film. Dirt. The remake is the third best of the franchise. Okay. Now you say, I like Evil Dead 2 more. I wish the Deadites looked the same in the second one, though, as the original. Yeah, well, actually, Matt, I saw Evil Dead 2 before I saw the original Evil Dead. And so, seeing them in reverse like that, I think gave me a new way to look at them. Because when after seeing Evil Dead 2 and then discovering Evil Dead, I was like, is this going to be funny and slapstick and Three Stooges gags all over the place and stuff like that. And then I figured out, no, this is pretty dark. You got tree rapes and them having to lock people down in the cellar and people turning into deadites all over the place. And, two totally different films, in my opinion. And then Army of Darkness, of course, went the way of a more comedic tone, which I think worked for this series. But I am still glad that the original was as dark as it was, because that left a lot of room for the second one and Army of Darkness to be as wild as they wanted to be. You know what I mean? So although I don't think we'll ever see Sam Raimi returning to making Evil Dead 4, I think I'm pretty satisfied with the ones that he did make. And I think that I'm satisfied now. There was a time when I really wanted him to make Evil Dead 4, but I think that time has come and gone now. And I don't even want, I don't know how to feel about that Evil Dead Rising or Rise or whatever it is, because, Bruce Campbell's already said I'm too old to return as Ash and all that. And I just don't know how I feel about all that. I mean, more than likely I'll give it a try and try to watch it. But I know good and well it's not going to have the same feel as the other films. There's no way. It's just like I've said this before about the Phantasm series. The time to make Phantasm Ravager or a fifth Phantasm had come and gone by the time that somebody did do it. It was just too late. And I think that film suffered a lot because of that. And it also suffered because Don Coscarelli was not directing it as well. Um, Matt, you say, are y'all getting the Evil Dead remake and Army of Darkness 4Ks? I am not getting the Evil Dead remake on 4K. I think Steve probably will, but I've got the Army of Darkness 4K pre-ordered. I'm definitely going to get it. So, okay, there's some more things here. Dirk, you say, I do love Evil Dead 2, but I'm not a big fan of comedy horror, although it slightly edges out the remake. Now you say if Evil Dead rises like Demons 2, it might be okay. Yeah, could be. So let's talk about some special features on this. The 4K just basically has audio commentary with writer director Sam Raimi, producer Robert Tappert, and star Bruce Campbell, which is a very good commentary. And then disc 2, the Blu-ray has the movie, plus it has more special features on it. So basically, if you've seen the Blu-ray of it, then you've seen those special features. So that's Evil Dead. We're down to the last two, guys. And you guys probably knew I was going to include this one, and that's The Exorcist. This is one of those ultimate fall-like films because some of the action does take place in the fall, and this film just seems like a fall type of film. There's even a scene that must take place close to Halloween. So the atmosphere, the music, the subject matter, everything seems to fit that fall archetype or whatever you want to call it. I don't think I need to go into the details of what The Exorcist is about. All I got to say is demon possession. And I think you guys get what I'm talking about. And the other thing I could say is Linda Blair. Linda Blair and demon possession. Okay? Nothing more needs to be said, I don't think, other than William Friedkin did an excellent job with this. William Peter Blatty wrote the perfect novel to be adapted by somebody the likes of William Friedkin. So it was in good hands from start to finish, I think. Cast very, very well. And actually, me and Darren and John talked about The Exorcist last night, and we were talking about the fact that you could have taken out all the demon possession stuff out of this movie, and it could have still been a very well made drama. Of course, it couldn't have been called The Exorcist, but that's just beside the point. The special effects and all that were just kind of icing on the cake. They were added things. If you had just had a family and crisis drama with this, and I'm not talking about Lifetime Movie Network, LMN, the Women in Peril Network, not on that level, but William Friedkin level, this could have been still a very powerful film without the demon possession stuff. Matt, you said Demons 2 is hard to watch for me because of that 5 minute scene of that damn screeching baby thing. Right. Hey, Cliff. Matt, you say Pet Cemetery 2 has a fall vibe. It does. And I'll probably be talking about actually probably both of the Pet Cemetery films when I get to that. Dirk, you say, love the remake series tone, though, and the performance from Jane Levy is amazing. She was a soldier during all the stunts and never complained with everything she went through during making the film. Oh, yeah, to each his own, Dirk, to each his own. You say the Exorcist is great anytime. I agree with that totally. And with this release, you do get the extended director's cut and the original theatrical version. You also get this little booklet, The Friedkin Connection, a memoir that is really good. It's been a while since I read it, but it's got some, it's got some great pictures from The Exorcist as well. So let's talk real quickly about the special features on this. I am eagerly awaiting a 4K of this. Heck, I'm going to say it again, and I want Dolby Atmos sound, damn it, on The Exorcist, because if any movie will benefit from it, The Exorcist is it. Matt, you say y'all watch those depressing movies for anytime movies, The Exorcist and City of the Living Dead. Dirk, you say this release I have is higher than hell now. Yeah, I think I paid about what 40 for it when I got it. How high? How much is it going for now? So this includes this one extended director's cut. Disc 2 has the original theatrical version. Disc 3 has special features. Beyond Comprehension, William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist. 40 years after his novel was published, The Exorcist author, screenwriter, and producer returns to where it all began. Talk of the Devil, a never before seen documentary with Father Eugene Gallagher while at Georgetown University. William Peter Blatty heard about a true case of possession from Father Eugene Gallagher. At the time the film came out, the priest talked at length about exorcism, the true story, and about Blatty. And I do think there's other special features in here. I could be wrong, but I thought there was. That they just don't necessarily list them on the back here. And that, guys, is The Exorcist. And if you've never seen The Exorcist, I urge you to find a copy to watch of that. Maggie said, I like movies like Blood Rage, Evil Laugh, Evil Dead 2, and the more goofy horror movies. Matt, were you in there when I did the Evil Laugh watch along? And Blood Rage, are you talking about the one with the guy that works at the Yoo-Hoo factory, or are you talking about the one that takes place during Thanksgiving? Because I actually like both of them, but I like the one that takes place during Thanksgiving quite a bit better than the other one. Cliff, you say next year, the 50th anniversary. Here's hoping 4K next year. Yeah, that's a nice release. Got it. Yeah, I'm looking for that 4K. I mean, it's got to come out on 4K. Yes, Dirk, I believe this is the 40th anniversary edition. And Matt, you said the one during Thanksgiving. Yeah, that one. I got the Arrow release a few years back of that one, and it's great if you don't have it. Okay, so the final one I'm going to talk about tonight is Firestarter. And you're probably going to think, what? But I think the big reason why I associate Firestarter with a fall and or Halloween atmosphere is for this reason. When I was growing up, we had a channel, Channel 44, that the closer it got to Halloween, there were certain movies that they would show on Channel 44 every year. Firestarter being one of them. Firestarter, Silver Bullet, Friday the 13th Part 3, Halloween 2. It was just kind of odd the ones that they showed. It's maybe the ones that they could get the rights to because they never showed the first Halloween. It was always Halloween 2 and Halloween 3 as well. And the Stephen King picks generally seem to be Firestarter and Silver Bullet, which Silver Bullet actually has a Halloween scene in it. So, but I think that is why this has continued to stick with me as a fall watch, because of that association with it being shown every year when I was growing up. Um, when Channel 44 started showing these horror movies around Halloween time. And so, in case you don't know what Firestarter is or what it's about, I'm going to read a little bit of the plot synopsis on here. Firestarter, based on the unforgettable bestseller by esteemed horror author Stephen King, chronicles the extraordinary life of Charlene Charlie McGee. 8-year-old Drew Barrymore stars as a child who has the amazing ability to start fires with just a glance. Can her psychic power and the love of her father save her from the threatening government agency, the Shah, which wants to control her or destroy her? Filled with blazing special effects and featuring an all-star cast including Martin Sheen, Heather Locklear, David Keith, Art Carney, Louise Fletcher, and again, we've got George C. Scott. Firestarter is directed by Mark L. Lester, class of 1984 and Commando, and driven by a pulsating, thrilling score from Tangerine Dream, who also did scores for Legend, Sorcerer, and Risky Business. Maggie said, I'm waiting on a 4K for Dr. Giggles and Sorority House Massacre 2. Awesome. Wow, Dirk, you say it's $175 on Amazon for the US release and $31 for the UK. Wow. Matt, you say I like Howling 2 better than the original, and that song is addicting. You say $175? That's insane. So, guys, once again, this has been a lot of fun. It's almost 11:30. I'm going to have to get my butt off of here and get my shower taken and all that good stuff and try to get some rest because I have been running a temp tonight, but I wanted to do this stream, and I'm willing to suck it up with these fevers and body aches and all that good stuff to give you guys a little bit of entertainment. We all need some entertainment in our lives, don't we? Including me. And these, I love doing these. These kind of keep me sane, believe it or not. With all the shit I've been having to deal with lately with work and stuff, I feel like I need this. I need some kind of stability where things ain't just going completely off the deep end. So I want to thank everybody. We still got 6 people in here. I've went on a little over 3 hours. And I think that was primarily because I stuck on Amityville Horror for so long. So the next one of these I do, whether I do it tomorrow night or I do it another time, I will try to go through them much quicker. Matt, you say, go smoke a joint and get some rest. Well, I probably won't smoke a joint, but I'm definitely going to try to get some rest. Crank up some Doobie Brothers. I actually like the Doobie Brothers. So again, I'd like to thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. It's been fun. You have a good night too, Matt. And Dirk, you say, I can't wait to see Evil Dead 2013 4K. Can do a double feature with the original. More power to you, Dirk. More power to you. Oh, man. You're a great friend, Dirk, but phew, that Evil Dead remake. Okay. So, as always, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night. And good night, Cliff. And I will see everybody on the flip side. You guys have a good night now.